welcome from all over the world where you are from. I'm just thinking before we go into the topic of today, let's just quickly focus again on one important thing. You know, being a VPE is something that requires a huge number of skills because there's so many different things that you are working on. And I'd like to just focus on that for a moment, because the worst thing would be for you to finish a year of being a VPE and having dreaded it because it was just such an overload and too many negativities. I really would like to be able to make sure that you have a positive VPE year. So how can we ensure that? Specifically, if you can understand and grasp what are the skills that you can grow yourself with. Now, remember, the focus is on grow yourself with, because you can't, it's not like you're walking into a work environment and somebody's going to be kind enough to teach you and say, this is how you handle this machine and that's how you handle this. You have to learn yourself. You have to find out what information do you need. And then you have to find out, how do you do that information? Now, the fact that we have VPE trainings here is to just help make that task a little bit easier. But without spending too much further time, I want you to understand one of the great skills that you can learn here as a VPE is to be able to look at the big picture, planning, and then to be able to constantly go back and realign to make sure the planning is updated and that you've got your planning picture and you've got the reality, and that constantly those two are being married with each other so that you can be walking in the correct direction. When you have to do planning in your personal life, for maybe your personal business or for a company, the lessons you learn, the tricks, the software, hardware, all kinds of things that you can pick up as a VPE can help you and further you in your personal growth further. But as in everything else, you learn as you do. Now, I'm going to start off by saying the title of today's training is Maintain and Monitor Member Progress. So I don't think I need to go into why should we maintain and monitor member progress. Even if you just take, let's say you want to go on holiday and you climb and you're going to drive there. Well, first of all, you're going to do is you're going to go over your vehicle to make sure that it can do the journey that you have. If it's a long journey, you really want to make sure it's well serviced. The threads of the tires are great. It can handle the journey. You want to make sure that that maintenance is there. And then you've got some key factors to monitor it. We were on a journey, quite a long journey the last 2 weeks, and we were doing mainly gravel roads, and gravel roads just flatten tires like that so easily. But there was a little device that you could screw into the air valve. You screwed that into each one of the tires, and then inside the vehicle, it would tell you what the pressure of the tires are, so that as you're driving, because sometimes the gravel roads are pushing you this way and that way, and it's difficult because on a tar road you'll know when you have a flat tire, but sometimes on a gravel road it's a bit confusing. Is it now the road or is it a flat tire? And that even has an indicator that says boop, boop, and then the tire is flat. Well, I must tell you, after this journey of 8 flat tires, we know how that device works. So in the same way with VPE, in maintaining and monitoring member progress, it's the same thing. So how do we maintain the member progress? I'm going to quickly launch a sheet and share that with you. Here is an example of a planning sheet that I have shared with you guys, my DCP Planner. Now, the purpose of this DCP Planner is, here's the part that I've been hiding, as I've planned every person's path going forward, and there I have seen, you can see I color the last project of a particular level in a different color, because then I know I can come here and put a 1, 1, 1, 1. And that way I can know at the end how many, if I bring it right up, you can see we need 4 level 1s to have 1 DCP goal achieved. Yes, we can do that. We need 2 level 2s. So here we've got 4 and there 4. So definitely we can achieve our level 2s. We need 2 level 3s. We potentially have 6 coming up. And then we need a level 4, 5, or DTM once. And if you can have a look at the planning shows we are healthy as a club for the future to be able to produce this, to be able to reach, not produce points, but reach goals. This is a goal where you want to go to. You want to reach that goal, because then it creates a great member experience, because members are growing. So the first place is where, after you have gone through the training where I teach you how to populate this sheet, we then go into coming to a place where we are now monitoring what happens. So I have the actuals of meetings, and I'm just going to take you through. I was going to do all of them, but I felt, no, maybe I must just do the one for you. Now, if you have a look, although we plan to have, this particular club is a very small club in member size, and some members aren't truly active. They've paid their membership way ahead. They still have 1 or 2 projects to do to finish a level, and that's all they want to do because they are encountering other problems. So the activity of the members are quite low. You can see in my meetings, although I plan for 5, 5, 5, you can see they're a little bit down. Here's one that says 6 for a reason. That means when we do the actuals, although I have planned what needs to take place, now when the actuals come to pass, I now need to do something that I can see the actuals have taken place. So what I do is I take a meeting when I come to the end of the meeting, and I say, right, let's have a look at this meeting. Did Amandu do his dynamic leadership project? No, he was away. So when he was away, I just turn it red. So now I know that he didn't do it there, and I need to change the projection going further. Then, did I do my mentoring project? No, I couldn't get connection because I was traveling at the time. I was not able to do it. I just got back last night. So this is my first opportunity to update this. So I must make it red as well, because I now need an opportunity to do that. But I did find out that this person did their project, and I normally, when I do that, I color it. I draw a border around it, and I make it a red border so that one can see it. And I go through all of them. And if somebody came on board, then I just add them in there, and I give them each a red border. And when I'm finished, then I make a red border around the date, so that I can at a glance know what has been completed, and I adjust it going forward. So that is the meeting after meeting. Now, normally I do that at the end of a meeting, but because I was on the road and I haven't been there and I just came back, I thought this is an excellent opportunity to actually just show it to you how we do that. Now, what the other thing that I want to show you is on this particular sheet that I gave you, there is a meeting plan tab, which if you looked at it, you would say, what's going on here? And I want to quickly take you through it and bring some clarity to it, because this will help you with your planning. What we have is, in planning, we normally have an agenda with 5 speakers, and most clubs have that as well. And you have a toast, and then here are the role players, the other role players besides the speakers. So I put them down like that, and this is now just for you to understand what did we have? We ended up having 3 speakers, not 5. And who else was there? Now the meeting is finished. We normally say that within 24 hours after the meeting, we would like the secretary to finalize their part. Now, this is something that can be done by, in your club, you could have a different way of handling that. So in that sheet, and if you find that folder, the videos on how to fill it in and how to complete it and how to set it up is also inside there. In your club, there should be that process of leading up to a meeting and then after a meeting. The part that is really important after the meeting is to record the actuals. Here's a quick flow of how to do those actions. Recording the actuals starts with you launching your club's DCP Planner the way you are used to using it all the time. Then you select the Meeting Plan tab. That's where you will find all the information and you can follow the steps as indicated in the column day after the meeting. So now it's the next day. We've just had the meeting. What do we do? The Meeting Plan tab provides the entire workflow for this meeting. It starts off with the secretary. The secretary will now upload guests on EasySpeak. So the secretary is the first part in what needs to take place, and the secretary adds visitors to contacts and then notifies the Toastmaster and the VPE. So how does the secretary add the visitors to contacts? If you are having a face-to-face meeting, then there is probably your A4 hardcover manuscript book for your permanent records of minutes, which you will have one for club minutes and you'll have one for ExCo minutes. So you'll be using club minutes one. It's normally divided in this manner where the secretary either prints a club member list with a place to sign and pastes it in the book or creates a place for the members to indicate their attendance. So we start focusing on the members. After that, we focus on the visitors. And therefore, the secretary will create a visitor contact information section and uses this information to update EasySpeak and Google Contacts. Now you ensure that the Zoom master has set up the meeting with registrations. That's extremely important. It starts with the Zoom master and making sure that it's been set up that way. Now we select register once only, as it will be very annoying for the regular members to have to register every time. The same for visitors too. The first time is to get their details. And now we generate and download the registration report. And every time you download, it's the same registration report, but you just look at the date of the meeting and add any new people that have come on board. Now, if you're looking at the online environment, the secretary will be taking photos of the online attendance and just pasting them down and compares it with the Zoom registration list and adds visitors to contacts and EasySpeak. Then notifies the Toastmaster and VPE. So we told you that this is what they had to do. Now we showed you how you do it in a face-to-face and online environment. Let's move further. Now it's time for the Toastmaster. Now that EasySpeak has been updated and everything is up to date, now the Toastmaster can upload the actuals as the role players have been added. So if there was a person visiting from another club and they participated and became an evaluator, it can be recorded correctly. And after all the actuals have been done, then the Toastmaster will notify the secretary and VPE. So how does the Toastmaster do this process? Let's look at it. The Toastmaster of the evening records the actuals. So you go and select who did what to make sure the actuals are recorded and then closes the meeting by just clicking the closure sign and informs the VPE secretary.
Now it's time for the VPE to record the actuals on the DCP Planner as follows. You start off by finding the same date on the DCP Planner as on EasySpeak. Then you find the speaker and check that the project is correctly recorded. So there's Innovative Planning for Eric Munz, and there you see Eric Munz Innovative Planning. It's the same project on the sheet as well. You want to make sure that that's done correctly. The next thing we do is to add a red box around the project number of every club member that presented. So he presented his project and we put the red block around it. Then you continue that way with all the others club members that have spoken. And then lastly, you add a red box to the date to indicate that now the meeting is complete, that you've updated everything. That helps you to just at a glance on your sheet know where you have updated everything.
Right. So now what we do, the reason why we say the secretary uploads guests to EasySpeak, for those that have EasySpeak, just think about it. You've had new people come in. The secretary is the custodian of our contact details. Either the secretary is at a face-to-face meeting and has sent a book around and people have filled their details in and will take those details. And depending on what your club does, will either upload that person onto EasySpeak if you're using EasySpeak. If you don't use EasySpeak, will upload that person onto their contact details drive. Very important. Now, this is ancient because we moved over to EasySpeak way back when. And this is when I was VPE, before we used EasySpeak. You see, what we used to have is we would have a table of absences. And then for each person, I would indicate when they attended a meeting and if they attended, were they a speaker, evaluator, what were they? Because you need to keep some kind of a record of what has taken place. It's just a mammoth task. EasySpeak was just so much easier for me. Maybe not for you, but you need to do, at the end of the day, you need to do what you can do best in order to have a good record of your planning and the reality. Now, back to the other sheet. So once the Toastmaster has recorded the actuals, now because now we've got it either on EasySpeak or on your Google Drive, now the secretary can print out an agenda and paste it in their book, the minutes book of the club meetings. Not the ExCo meetings, the club meetings. You want to do that because you need a record of the agenda, and if any decisions were made, it needs to be added there as minuted. So updates, meeting minutes. So I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. That makes it easier for you to follow, especially if you're just on a phone. Right. The secretary prints and updates the agenda, pastes it in the meeting minute book, updates any meeting minutes if there were some, and speech times. We like to just keep a record of the times there in case that's important. And now notifies VPE. VPE updates the DCP Planner, which is where I just showed you, putting the red squares around, and checks EasySpeak to make sure that the Toastmaster of the day and the secretary, that they have done their things correctly. So that is typical in leadership levels where people are allocated tasks and the supervisor comes to check that everything has been done according to allocation. Then we go on to the next part. So a week before your meeting, the VPE would update speakers, would let everybody know, because you've got the planner. They know at least three meetings ahead who the speakers are, and updates it because somebody might be scheduled for that time, but all of a sudden they have to go away or something might take place. So you update that. You fill in the roles of who would and said they wanted to do what, or who you allocating what to do, and you send out a meeting notice. It is important for us to send out a meeting notice a week before the time so that you can have this can I call it a tug of war, to be able to get things to the place where you have the final meeting that you now know who really will be there. Or you send out role notices and you indicate on your WhatsApp group what's happening, and you indicate on Easy Speak, and you send out the emails. You as VPE send out every form possible, because people don't respond easily. Some do. You have some people that you send them a message and soon they answer, and then you have other people, we call it the blue tick culture. You see, they read it, but they never come back to you. So for that reason, you fill every platform to ensure that they have seen it. And then you give them time to respond, to just make your life a bit easier. You give them time to respond. And if after 48 hours, some of them have not responded, then you contact them separately so that you can get there. Now, so this leads you up to the days before, 5 days, 3 days, 2 days, 1 day before, the same thing that you do daily. Check on Easy Speak who's responded. Indicate non-responders on WhatsApp group. Update it. So you just sit on it, sit on it, sit on it. At the same time that VPE is doing this, you as VPE train the Toastmaster of the evening and the general evaluator of the evening. What must the Toastmaster do? You have set out the themes. Now, sometimes you can tell them they can select a theme. It's also fine. But if you want to go a certain direction with a club and bring some certain information in, then you can set the meeting themes, find information and share it with them, or they can find their own information. So they prepare for the themes. They must contact the speakers to confirm their speaking. They assist speakers to add speech titles and introductions, because that's what you need. And the general evaluator on the other side contacts the evaluation team and the grammarian, timer, evaluators, and updates and educates that team accordingly. So you have your VPE that's leading your meeting or event with your two key players, your Toastmaster that's going to take care of your speakers, and your general evaluator that's going to take care of your evaluation team. And that gives you the skills again on working with a team and holding people accountable and training people to do something. So if you appoint somebody as a Toastmaster and you haven't trained them before and they're a new person coming in, you can't expect things from them. So you've got to have something like that in place for them. Okay. And then at the day of the meeting, you finalize things, print out the agenda, and straight within 24 hours after the meeting, we go back to where we started here. And that is the way that we have planned what our club members can potentially achieve. We are monitoring what is happening. So we've got a little system to make sure that everything is in place. On that same sheet that I gave you, there is, I've added this. I've added this because I saw the need of that what we want to do is, as your members are busy going down the road with their education and gaining information and practice and experience with the various roles, they need to understand that they are on their way to a DTM. That's if you had a kind of a meeting, an investigative meeting with them in the beginning to find out what they want to achieve. And then you guided them to say, well, you can achieve them by, and then you give them the direction in which they can go. And hopefully you are directing them on becoming on earning their DTM and making the DTM something achievable, attainable, and desirable for them. Because if you do that, you retain members in the club much better when that takes place. Now, we've got September coming up, at the end of September, beginning of October, when people by then need to pay their, almost said school fees, their membership dues. that's when we often find such a huge drop in it, because if we as VPEs kind of put something in them as a desire and showing them that it's attainable to earn a DTM and what a DTM involves, when we do that, the chances of retaining members become quite high. So that's why I'm going to encourage you on that. So what I've done here is you can see I've just created this, added it in, put our names in there, and I want to start adding it in there because all that it is, this is the road to DTM. It's your first path, the different projects that you have done for that. What is the path's name? And then as you complete each level, the date that you have there. And for the first and second path, the same thing. And all the other bits and pieces that you need to do, be a mentor, a coach, be a club officer, etc. This way, can you see, you will be able to involve your members, bring them on board, get them to gain much more experience than what they ever understood, because often people only look at, here's a path, I must do it, and then I'm done. And they don't understand the greater picture, the bigger value that there is for everyone. So today it was maintaining and monitoring your member achievement. At another time, we will be, because remember, we want to just do short things and we're always almost coming to an end. We want to just do short parts, but there is another time where we will go into Basecamp and we will show you more in Basecamp. So with that, let me open up and ask if there are any questions, any further questions that anybody has. Let me know. Yes, Francois.
Good day. Good day to you, and thank you so much for this opportunity to be in this training. My question to you is, well, so let me state and then ask a question. You mentioned earlier ways that we can retain members, and one of the things is letting them know that they can be a DTM. My question to you is, persons don't necessarily respond even via emails or even via WhatsApp or things like that. How can I, as a VPE, still maintain momentum, even though we're doing crossing the T's and dotting the I's?
Wonderful.
So that by the end of the year, they do not lose their membership.
Wonderful. That is such a huge question and so pertinent to what we are achieving here. Just think about it. If we were all working for a company, we were working for Toastmasters International and they paid us salaries and we had our different positions, it would be so easy because you would be in charge of a group of people and you'd say, this needs to be done. And if it's not done, it goes on their report, it's presented to superiors and they lose their position. That's easy, isn't it? But it doesn't work like that because this is a volunteer organization. And the difference is there are some people that are naturally self-driven. There are others that need some motivation. Some need huge amount of motivation. And some people come with excitement, watch at a distance, and just drop off. It's just how they are. So the big thing is to start off by trying that. We as VPEs need to make sure that we are speaking to our VPPRs. And when we have an ExCo meeting, that we start by saying, when we market the club, we need to make sure that we market the club to draw those that have the capacity to really self-grow. That's important because if you do not have a large amount of those people on board, it is extremely difficult for you to do anything. So that's where it begins, right at the beginning, to draw the correct people on board. within the VPE, if you create those meetings having a great theme and creating that vibe with things happening quite well, making sure that you have a great Toastmaster that sets a good tone, general evaluator, that all of those things are well in place. When people come to the meeting, then they find things they can connect with and associate with. So that is the next hook and starting place. After that, to answer your question, is this: when you begin to connect with people, I know in the one club where I'm at, there are 2 people that are being sponsored by their work. They were keen in the beginning, but now I have sent encouraging messages, everything. You just see the blue ticks. What do? I pick up the phone and I phone. Sometimes they don't answer it. I have even gone around to try and find them. So it becomes on me as a VPE. It depends on how much I'm prepared to put into it. But remember, right at the beginning, I said, think about the skills you can take out. So for me, it became a thing of saying, okay, these people are giving me blue ticks. Why? Are they afraid of something? What is it that makes them not connect? So now I am energized by that to make sure that I connect with them, that I find out what's going on there, to gain people experience, to gain insight on how people think, how people react, so that I can reconstruct my communication and change it to maybe get better responses in future. But not only that, as a result of that, I've made deeper personal connections with people. And those deeper personal connections, when I look back to some of the things that are happening today, they are because I put so much effort into building a relationship with a person to try and get them on the road. They didn't have a clue what I'm trying to do, but after a few months, when their eyes opened up and they saw, but I've already done 3 levels, I'm almost finished with my first path. That means it's just another path to do. They appreciate the amount of effort you've put in. So I didn't just answer your question. I wanted to give you a bigger picture on that, for sure. Does that make sense to you? Is there still something missing that I can answer?
Thank you so much.
Good.
Granny B, there's a question in the chat that I don't know if we have time to answer it.
That.
What does the tracking look like in EasySpeak?
Now, remember, I've been on EasySpeak since 2011. So here you will see, this is the workbook matrix. This is everything I've done in tiny little ticks. But here is like my dynamic leadership. It tells you which date it was done, who was my evaluator, what was the title, etc. There's the entire dynamic leadership I've done. Then there's effective coaching that I've done. Then there's visionary communication that I've done. There's engaging humor that I've done. Then there's the older paths. Okay, so there's my distinguished Toastmaster. Can you see everything that I've done? As I've selected it, it tells me what it is and when it was done and who was my okay, so now here you can see there's some question marks. That is when somebody leaves and they delete themselves off. Then you don't know who it was. I can only guess it's one of 2 people that I know that have done that so far. Okay, but there can you see everything that I've done has been placed here. I've got a full record of this. There's even records of, so this is just my education that I've done. Then I can look at the roles that I've done. But in EasySpeak, there's many ways in which you can track what you have done. Stop share. I trust that helped. Any other questions? We are done. Do we delete inactive members on EasySpeak? No, don't do that. Don't do that. Just make them inactive, because if they come back again, then they just carry on where they from. It's just on an AutoCAD. so far since 2011 that we started Easy Speak up until now, only 2 people that left our club, when they left Toastmasters, they went to Easy Speak and deleted all their information. They did it, and that's fine. But don't delete people's things. Keep it there, because some people come and go, and then at least the information is there. Okay. So what we need to do as VPEs is plan, monitor, maintain, and adjust as we go along our people's education to ensure we reach our goals personally and as a group together. I trust this was a blessing, and I hope you have an amazing weekend. Unless there are any other questions, we are done.
Thank you so much for your time today. It's been very useful. I don't see any other questions except thank yous coming up in the chat now. So thanks very much.
Thank you to all of you. Thank you, Lynette, for being a backup there for me. And
Pleasure.
I wish you all the best. So if you want to, you can switch your cameras on and you can switch your mics on, and we can just say goodbye to each other. That at least there's a voice.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.